Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Philip, and today we're going to make a game and learn how to use the broadcasting messages block. So the game is going to be basically you have UFOs bouncing off the walls and going down every time they touch a wall, and if they get to a certain point this text comes up, and then you have this rocket where you move with the keys and you shoot with another key. And if you hit all the UFOs before they reach a certain point, it says game over, I win. So let's start by clicking the create button, and the first step is to get the rocket ship. So the good thing is the rocket ship is already in the sprites if you click on the sprites. So first, don't forget to delete the cat, click on the sprites bar and search up rocket. It's going to be the only one that pops up. So click on it. And there it is. You see it's kind of too big. Let's try 50. That should do good. And now it has this fire behind it. Let's see if there's any costumes without that fire. So it actually has 4 different costumes. Well, 5 different costumes. And this one has no fire. So we can go ahead and place that and start coding. So we need the when green flag clicked. It needs to do something forever. So get the forever block. And we need first to do like if left key pressed, then go to the left. If right key pressed, then go to the right. So if key left arrow pressed, then we need to change the X of the rocket, right? So change X by -10 and duplicate that. And if key right arrow change X by 10 and run it, and you can see when I press the left arrow it goes to left and right arrow it goes to the right. Now we're ready for the next step. So basically what we need is to create the bullet, and every time you press the space the bullet has to go forward out of the rocket. So the bullet we actually have to draw. So click on here and get the paint, and now we need to draw it. So you have to get this rectangle and draw a pretty good size for a bullet. I'll say that's pretty good, and pick your color for the inside. I'm gonna pick a reddish, and it'll automatically fill it in for you like that. So now we need to go back to the code and go to the rocket ship, because we need to do the if space pressed. So if the space key space pressed, then we actually need to broadcast a message that will be like shoot the bullet, right? And then this will do when I receive that message, it will do its thing. So if key space pressed, it's at the events on the very bottom, and there's actually 2 types of broadcast. Broadcast message 1, or whatever you want to call it, and then broadcast message 1 and wait. The difference between those 2 is if I were to put broadcast message 1, it would broadcast message 1, and then wherever I put when I receive message 1, it would do the rest of this code at the same time of this code under when I receive message 1. But if I were to put broadcast message 1 and wait, it would stop doing everything in this code and only do this one, and when this one is done it would continue doing this one. So we actually need the broadcast message one. So let's get new message, and let's say, like, for example, fire bullet, and delete this one and broadcast fire bullet right here. If key space pressed, then broadcast fire bullet, and then go to the bullet, and when I receive fire bullet, we need it to go to the rocket ship and then show and then make it go all the way up. So when I receive fire bullet, go to rocket ship and show, because at the beginning it's gonna be hidden. So when I receive fire bullet, go to rocket ship, show, and then we need it to go up. So up is changing the y by 10. So we need change y by 10, and we actually need a repeat because we need to do it not forever, but not just once either. So repeat, change y by 10. Let's try 10 by 10. And when I press the space, it's going up, but not all the way up, and it's not at the rocket ship. That is because, if you go to the costumes, the middle is not where this is. So we need to select this select icon right here, and select this bullet, and we need to move it. We need to move it to the center. So you have it in the middle. Make sure the very bottom is at the center, and go to the code, and let's test it. So run it, and when we press the space, it goes to the rocket ship, and then it goes up, but like I said, not all the way up. We need it to go all the way to the sky. So repeat, let's say 30 times. Change y by 10. Let's try it again. And that goes pretty good, yeah. It makes it all the way to the top. Now we need to make it hide when it gets up there. So we need the hide. And then we need to, at the very beginning, we need to press this, since we need it at the very beginning to be hidden, not to show like in the middle of the screen. So when you press space, it just goes like that, and you can move this spaceship with the keys. And as you can see, the bullet is on top of the rocket when it first appears on the rocket. So we need to change that by getting this block right here. Go to back layer. We need to go to the very back, and we need to put that right after it shows. So run it, and when you shoot, it's right behind the rocket, so it looks like the rocket's actually shooting it. Now we need to upload the UFO by going to upload sprite, and I already have the UFO from before this video, and now we need to change the size because you can see it's way too big. So let's try a 50, still too big. Maybe a 20. Yeah, that should be good because we want it to float around up here. So first thing we need is, when green flag clicked, we need a repeat, and how many times this repeats is how many UFOs we're gonna have at the end, because inside of this repeat we want to put a create clone of myself. So let's say 5, that's a good number of clones, and we can get now the when I start as a clone, because we needed to do something when it starts as a clone. So when I started as a clone, first it needs to go to a random position, but it shouldn't be able to go like all the way down here. So we should make it go only in this exact like square right here, an imaginary square. So go to X, pick random, and Y, pick random. And a good square would be like -150 and 150 and 0 and 150. So now let's test it, and you can see 6 of the UFOs appear because of the 5 clones and the original UFO. So what we need to do is we need to hide by clicking this button down here. That's hiding the original UFO, and then when I run it now, no UFOs appear, because when it creates a clone of the UFO, then they appear hidden because that's how the original one was. So we need the show block, and you put it down there and go. You can only see 5 of them, which is just how many clones we actually made. So now you're ready for the next step, where we're going to have all of the UFOs go either right or left, and if they touch the edge, they're going to bounce back the other way. So for that, we need to make a variable so it can remember which direction it's going. So UFOs direction, and we have it. And at the beginning here, we need to set UFOs direction to, we can do it left or right. I'm gonna go with left. And then we needed to do something forever, so get the forever block and put it right under the set UFOs direction. And then we need, in that forever, we needed to broadcast the UFOs direction, so every clone knows which direction they're supposed to go. So broadcast, and then you actually have to get the UFOs direction block from the variables, and broadcast UFOs direction and wait. We need the and wait because we're going to code another piece of code right here, and we don't want it to keep going until it does everything under this. You can see that here it's basically saying broadcast left because UFO's direction is left. So broadcast left and wait. So we actually need to do when I receive, and then we need to make a new broadcasting message, and it's going to be called left. And so when I receive left, it needs to move to the left. So we can use the go to, or we can use this glide to XY. We will use the glide to XY because we need it to give us the impression that it actually moves that way. So glide 0.1 seconds to X minus 10, right? Because we need it to go a bit more that way every time. So X is basically going to be this block right here, X position. So X position minus 10. And we put that in the X, and then the Y is just going to stay the same, so Y position. Y is Y position. And then we need to get an if, basically saying if touching the edge, then we need to set the UFO's direction to the other way, which in this case is going to be the right. So if, because this is the left, and if touching edge, then we need to set UFO's direction to right. And then we need to duplicate this and do the same for right. So when I receive right, we need a new message, and then it's going to be called right. So when I receive right, glide 0.1 seconds to X position negative 10. That's not right because we need it to go the other way. So we need X position plus 10. So change that. And make sure it's X position plus 10. And then Y position stays the same because it's always going to be on the same line. So if touching edge, set UFO's direction to, this time we need it left, and let's test it. So run, and then they're moving that way, and then if it touches the edge, they bounce off and go the other direction, which is just how we wanted it to. Now we want the UFOs to all go down if one of them is touching the edge. So we would change Y by 10 if touching the edge, by minus 10, right? Because that's going down. Well, let's test it. Make sure you also put it on the left. Both of them, on both of them. You need it on both. So run it, and then when one touches, only the one that touches actually goes down. So this is when we need another broadcast, because we need to let all the clones receive that going down. So we take away the change y, and we need to get the bottom of events when I receive, and we need a new message. Let's call it down. And so when I receive down, then it needs to change the y by -10. So change y by -10, and it'll never actually receive down because no one's ever sending it. So we need to send it every time it's touching the edge. So if touching edge, we also need to send it. So broadcast down and wait. Broadcast down, duplicate it, put in both, and let's go ahead and test it. And if one touches, they all go down, which is just how we wanted it. It works on both sides too. So now for the next step, we need to take care if a bullet is touching a UFO, then the bullet needs to disappear, and then the UFO has to disappear too. So we need to actually do it here when I start as a clone, because the regular one, the original UFO, is just disappeared. So we need the clones to do this. So when I start as a clone, we need a forever, because we need to ask ourselves an if forever. And in that if, we need to if touching the bullet. So if touching sprite 1 is bullet. Let me go rename it so we don't get confused. Alright, so if touching bullet, then it needs to broadcast a message that basically says hide the bullet. So we need to go up here and we need broadcast. So if touching bullet, broadcast new message called hide bullet. And so if touching bullet, then broadcast hide bullet and wait. Then we just need to delete this clone by getting the delete this clone block and put it in that if. And now we need to go to the bullet and say when I received, so when I receive hide bullet, then hide, because that's basically what we want to do. It's simple. So when I receive hide bullet hide. Let's run it and let's see. So if I hit a UFO, it disappears. So now we're ready for the next step. We need a way to tell when the game is over. Well, the game is over when you've hit all of the UFOs. So that means all the clones are gone. So to keep count of that, we need to make a variable called clones count. So make the variable, and at the beginning, so go to the UFO code, and at the beginning, we need to set clones count to 0. And then when it makes a clone of itself, we need to change clones count by 1. And then when I've hit a clone, so when touching the bullet, we need to change clones count by -1, because one of the clones disappear. So now we need an if to basically say if clones count equals 0, say game is over, I won, or I win. So get the if and put it in this forever when the green flag is clicked. So if clones count equals 0, so get this, equals 0. So when clones count equals 0, then we have to broadcast a message here. So if clones count equals 0, then broadcast. We got to get a new message which is called I win. So new message, it's called I win. So broadcast I win and wait. I win will basically tell a new sprite, one single sprite, that it'll receive it. That sprite will receive I win, and it'll pop up and end the game. So if clones count equals 0, broadcast I win and wait. Now we also need another if. If any UFO gets to this point, this like line or below, that needs to end the game and say I lost, because that is not good. That's way too low. It's touching this rocket. So let's get another if and put it here. Make sure it's under when I start as clone, because the original UFO is hiding somewhere. It's not doing anything. So the clones are going to either get there or not. So if the Y position is smaller than negative 100, so if Y position, which is right here, so if Y position is smaller than negative 10, then we need to broadcast another new message, which will basically say I lost. So new message, I lost. So broadcast I lost and wait. Now we need to get 2 new sprites that we will paint and basically be a square with a writing on it that says game over, I lost, or I won. Let's make that rectangle. So first of all, we got to get a color, and I'll get like this kind of dark green, and go to the rectangle, click on the rectangle icon, and make a rectangle. Once you have it like you want it, then click on this T right here, which stands for text, and then right here in the middle, I'm going to write something. I'm going to say game over. Right now it's in green handwriting, so you can't see the writing. So let's make it white, and let's make it bigger. Not that big, but still not too small. That should be good, and let's rotate it a bit. So get this. And now let's get another text over here that says I win. And let's make that smaller. Bigger. Let's make that bigger. And not as big as that one, because okay, that should be good. Maybe even a bit smaller. Put in the corner. And now let's go to the coding. It's really simple and little coding. It's basically when green flag clicked, hide, and then when I receive I win, show. And then we need to stop all. Now let's duplicate this and make one in case we lose. So let's fill this background with a color. We don't want it white. Let's get a reddish color. So that should do good. And instead of I win, we want it to be I lose, right? So we have to go to the text and now click here, and you can change it. So I lose, game over, I lose. Now the code is almost the same, except here it's not I win, it's when I receive I lost. And let's try out the game and see if it works. So I'm shooting with the rocket, and I almost hit it, and I hit all of them, and then game over, I win appears, and I can't control everything because it stops all. Now let's add a background, and that should be it. Let's try, maybe this one is cool, yeah. So it's, see, that's a good background, and the rocket is actually on the ground, so that's perfect. Now don't forget to name your project. I'll name mine, I don't know, rocket shooter and then save it. And you can try some new things out. Like here you can animate the rocket because it has other costumes. You can make it look like it's blasting off or something. And you can do all sorts of things like make it go quicker or slower. So yeah, that's basically it. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked the video, and I'll see you next time for another game.